Okay.
We're ready to go, Nikki?
I think so.
Yes, they gave us thumbs up.
Okay. Ooh. We're noisy tonight, aren't we? Yeah. Welcome, everybody. We're going to go ahead and get started. We will start our meeting, as always, with a Pledge of Allegiance. So for those who are able, if you wouldn't mind standing, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We do have 6 of our 7 members. Mr. Nellen was not able to join us tonight, so we'll go ahead and call a quorum. Official meeting in session. Dr. Roberts, if you wouldn't mind taking us through mission, vision, core
Certainly,
values.
yeah, thank you. So each board meeting, we do want to review our mission, vision, and core values as a school corporation. The vision for our school corporation is to be the choice to learn, work, and play. The mission that we've set forth is to develop expert learners by partnering with our community to invest in people. We do have a list of 6 core beliefs that starts with we all can rise to the challenge of high expectations. Learning is most effective when we have choice, flexibility, and see relevance. We thrive when our physical, social, and psychological needs are met. Our community and school district are stronger when we partner with one another. We flourish because of the diversity and variability in our community, and our democracy and democratic institutions are strengthened by civic-minded citizens. So that drives the strategic plan for our organization, and we'll go into recognitions. Mrs. Wilden.
Dr. Pleak.
Good evening. Glad to see all of you here this evening. What an exciting night. Before we get started for our actual recognition for the person that is here, I would like to give an update. Last year at this time, I was standing before you announcing that BCSC Teacher of the Year was Veronica Buckler. And if you've been paying attention to the newspaper as well as our social media posts and Parent Square messages, Veronica last Friday was just announced as Indiana Department of Education Top 10 Teacher of the Year. So she is moving on in the process. This is our 4th year with this type of recognition, but with the previous 3, all did make it to the top 25, and Veronica making it to the top 10 makes us very excited. The process next for her is to go in for an interview with a committee of educators, past Teacher of the Year recipients, as well as community members. So we're excited for that and proud of Veronica Buckler, who is a teacher at CSA New Tech, for the special recognition and for dedicating her time to BCSC. Now, it is my honor to be here tonight to recognize our BCSC Teacher of the Year for 22-23. Mrs. Molly Fountain from Northside Middle School. Molly, if you come up and join me, please. Recognizing our BCSC Teacher of the Year is a momentous occasion to celebrate the remarkable dedication and unwavering passion that all educators bring to their classrooms, in which our students directly benefit. Each day, BCSC teachers invest their time, energy, and passion into creating meaningful learning experiences, fostering critical thinking, and nurturing a love for knowledge. This year's honoree, Molly Fountain, exemplifies the extraordinary work that teachers across our district undertake, going above and beyond to inspire and empower their students. Molly joined BCSC in 2009 as a teacher at Northside Middle School. She has taught 7th grade world history and 8th grade U.S. history over the years. She is currently teaching 8th grade. She received her Bachelor of Arts in Social Studies with minors in Political Science and Economics in 2009 from Purdue University. Over the years, she has served as a cadet teacher mentor, social studies budget coordinator, new teacher mentor, professional development facilitator, transition to teaching cooperating teacher, BCSC UDL Summer Institute presenter, Spell Bowl coach, PBIS committee member, CIC member, and participated in the James Madison Legacy Project and CAST Summer Institute. She has been an Indiana Academic Coach of the Year finalist and has received the Ross Wallace Innovation Award. For her nomination as Teacher of the Year, she received letters of support from a colleague, an administrator, and a former student. Here are a few of the statements from their letters. from an administrator. She works tirelessly for her students to create the most interactive and creative classroom. She brings history to life for her students, and she does so in a humorous way that allows her to connect with students. She has created a community in her classroom where students know she cares about them, and they learn to care more about each other. She works hard to create a relationship with parents. Every single year, she begins with a 1,000,000-word essay where parents are asked to write about their child in 1,000,000 words or less. It helps her learn their hobbies, their struggles, and the deep love that parents have for their children. There are not enough words to describe my deep respect for her as a teacher, as a colleague, and as a human being. From a colleague. She has been a constant source of guidance and inspiration to me, as well as other teachers on her team and in our building. She has the unique ability to connect with students, to develop positive relationships, as well as present concepts at students' level and make inherent sense to them. This has been described as her ability to engage in kids speak. Through her love for her students, her consistent leadership, and a tireless work ethic, she exemplifies everything a BCSC employee should strive to be. A former student, which was also a student teacher with her last year, I can delightfully state that she is a wonderful human being. My middle school experience with her was a defining moment in my decision to pursue a degree in education. It's where I fell in love with U.S. history and a certain style of teaching that's once in a blue moon. She has always been so helpful when it comes to watching and giving feedback on lessons taught. As she says, half of teaching is making adjustments when things don't go as expected. It's the sign of a good teacher. The Northside Nomination Committee also noted that she is driven to be creative, never satisfied, and a constant learner, and that she has a unique ability to create a classroom culture that all students thrive in. Over the course of this school year, Molly will work to create her portfolio to apply for the Indiana Department of Education's Teacher of the Year that will be submitted in June of 2024. Molly is a representative of all teachers with her endless commitment to educating our youth. The impact Molly makes daily, the impact that BCSC teachers make daily, extends far beyond textbooks and lesson plans as they guide students towards excellence, and for that, I express my sincere, heartfelt gratitude. And we're going to give Molly a few moments to share a few words with you before we go further.
All right. Whew. Okay, so I could not be more overwhelmed is the word I typically have been using, humbled and grateful to be chosen BCSC's Teacher of the Year. There are a lot of people that I could thank for getting me to this point, and I am not going to do it justice because you guys would be here forever, but I'm going to do my very best to name a few. First, my husband Mark, who handles being married to a teacher with patience and support. He jokes every single June that his teacher wife has returned, and while he's joking, there is definite truth because there are now elaborate dinners, right? The house is not crazy clean, let's not be nuts, but it's cleaner, right, than it is any time between August and May, and there's no bag with papers waiting to be graded at any given place in the house. Next, my three kids, Henry, Jack, and Caroline, who handle being teachers' kids with grace and only a little bit of eye rolling, and they're not above being bribed by donuts and a movie to sit in my classroom while I prepare for students every summer. My mom, my dad, and my sister, who are some of my greatest cheerleaders. And of course, my work family as well. I don't think I can say enough how lucky I am to be surrounded by the best of the best. I have colleagues I text on lesson planning Sundays for feedback on what we refer to as our lesson plan spirals, when we just can't get out of our head about what we have planned. I have a team that can troubleshoot literally anything in a 5-minute passing period. I have a department chair, Lori, who has believed in me even when I don't believe in myself, and an administration that are supportive and in my room almost every single day to see what's going on, supporting my crazy ideas, and how they can help. My journey to the world of education wasn't necessarily direct. My aunt and uncle were educators, and I found history interesting, and I had considered on and off the potential for teaching, but I had not committed when I set off to Purdue in 2005. I didn't really settle into this path until I had the fortune of being paired paired with one of the most dynamic history teachers I have ever met. As an introverted and quiet student, I was honestly completely overwhelmed sitting in his room for the first few times. He would come in and greet the students like a rock star taking the stage. It was an experience. But the energy he brought to the class was reciprocated. Those kids loved coming into his classroom. They wanted to learn anything he had to share with them. And so that ability to engage students quickly became one of my biggest goals. And that mission's continued now almost, well, kind of 15 years in. While I like to think that everyone finds our founding documents riveting and just so interesting, I can assure you that's not the case. When 13 and 14-year-olds think that you, at age 36, are a fossil, they are pretty sure that history is just about a bunch of old dead people. Getting excited, though, about coming to school and getting kids excited about learning again that some of them have lost when they reach middle school is probably one of my most favorite parts of my job. And with all of the people I have thanked, I need to thank my students, past and present. Thank you for trusting me, inspiring me, rolling with my crazy activities and ideas, whether that is turning the Declaration of Independence into a modern-day breakup letter, experiencing freezing conditions at Valley Forge when Mrs. Fountain opens the windows in December so it's really, really cold, or scrambling through an obstacle course blindfolded to experience the challenges of people like Christopher Columbus. Middle schoolers are the greatest, and I am so fortunate to have been surrounded by them for my entire teaching career. Once again, thank you so much for the honor and distinction. I am eternally grateful.
Clap for her again, because being Teacher of the Year probably deserves more than one round of applause. So at this time, I would like Nicole Cunningham, the Executive Director for BCSF, to please come up. She has a presentation for Molly, and I can help you. I won't take. Yes, okay. I can hold it.
Thank you. The Valley Forge thing, let me just tell you, my son is a sophomore and he still talks about it, so the day you froze my child. Thank you so much. But no, I can say, though, that I got to witness her teaching excellence during COVID, so that alone, I mean, we're thankful to her as a family. And though I wasn't on the selection committee for this award, we were all just tickled that you were picked. So, the School Foundation, for those of you who don't know who we are, for almost 70 years, we've been a nonprofit supporting teaching excellence. And I think we've seen it here tonight. So thank you, Molly. Congratulations.
So the foundation is presenting Molly with a check, and a really big one that's not real, but it's for $500 to help support her amazing education and to help celebrate the achievement. So very proud of you. And BCSC does have a plaque for Molly that she can have that announces her as Teacher of the Year, and we also have a plaque at the entrance of the administration building that has Molly's name on it already, as well as past members or Teacher of the Year selection. So you know what, one more time, just because she was so entertaining even with her speech, please join me congratulating Mrs. Molly Fountain, our Teacher of the Year.
Okay, can I just point out those 3 cute kids have books and not devices right now. So that's how you know you're a teacher's kid. How impressive. And they're all perfectly quiet. Congratulations, kids. Okay, we're going to move on to school board member reports. We'll start down at this end. No? You got anything, Logan? Okay. Mr. Grimes? I don't have anything. We've not had any meetings. Mr. Stoner? Mr. Major?
The redevelopment commission met today, and they had a lot of good things that they talked about. the 2nd Street thoroughfare, 8th Street gateway to Millrace Park. They have a potential unnamed tenant for Bachetto's. They've done some improvement on brickwork to the 2nd Street garage. They had a former probation building that was demolished, and they went through and did a recycling study. And fortunately, just under half of that building during demolition was able to be recycled. The Taylor apartment complex leasing office is open and accepting applications and providing tours. The housing study plans to move forward with initial paperwork being filed in September. The Riverfront project received a permit from items, so that's going to also move forward. And that's all I have to say, but that's not all that was spoke about, so I'll leave it at that. Health Trust is on Wednesday.
Mr. Bryan, do you have anything to report out? Nope. Okay. All right, cabinet reports. Tonight we have...
I do not think we have any, no.
There we go.
All right. Well, that will take us into 4 policies that we left off the last time in terms of approval. So you approved as a board a great number of policies, but these 4 have been set aside. And what I think we're going to look to do, Mrs. Wilden, is maybe set up an opportunity to have some conversation on these. At the one public meeting that we had, these were 4 policies that we set aside, had some conversations about. So we're working on revising those. We'll want you to have a chance to talk about them again before voting on them. As a reminder, those policies, one was 5420, reporting student progress, and there is HEA 1093 that we're trying to pay attention to, but at the same time, we were brainstorming other ways that we wanted to make sure and inform parents and keep them up to speed, not only with statewide assessments, but just with how their kids were doing, period. And then we also had 5610, suspension and expulsion of students. So we were making sure we were capturing all of Indiana code with the reasons for suspensions and expulsions, but we were reviewing the appeal process there. So seeing how that could come to the board and what that process could look like. Policy 8400 had some specific things that have been changed. The new definition of a school resource officer does now require that person to be a law enforcement officer with required training timelines established by state statute. So just some specific things outlined in code as per HEA 1093 that we need to pay attention to. But additionally, we were just looking at that process too. How do we set plans at the corporation level, at the building level, and what's the responsibility of the safety specialists besides just the SROs? So it was more broad school safety than just SROs. And then lastly, 8510, this one's going to take a little bit. So I believe the next time we will have a chat about policies, this one will still be on the back burner because there are so many components to this one. And our wellness committee has a group of people taking a look at that to make some recommendations for you to take a look at and then see what else you want to change. But they are checking through all of those pieces because it runs the gauntlet of things that we cover as a school corporation that may have something to do with wellness. So those are the 4. Just want to make sure we keep them in front of you. We want to make sure and bring them up each board meeting until they're approved. But we're looking at some point maybe having a meeting to review those. So I can take any questions with where we might be at this point. Okay. All right.
Good.
Yep.
And just as a reminder to the audience, the board has decided to use a public work session, which is what Dr. Roberts referred to help us work through as a team what we want to put into a policy that then comes to a vote in this meeting. So we will announce those meetings as they come up. As he said, we will plan to have one of those on September 11th. We will talk about these 4 policies. We will also start to move into policies regarding books. So I've seen the blue sheets. We will start as a team familiarizing ourselves with current policies regarding books and decide as a group how we want to move forward on that very important topic as it seems in our community. So just to put that out there, it'll be listed at the end in an upcoming meeting. So it would be at 5 o'clock here in the administration building on September 11th, covering those policies as well as diving into our book policies for the first time. Okay? And decisions occur here. Yeah. Decisions occur in the public business meeting.
And that meeting is just prior to the next regular meeting, which is at 6:30 that night.
Okay, so we're moving on to public comment. I am going to start with just a couple of reminders on how public comment has changed for us, given some of our subcommittee changes that were approved over the last few meetings. So we do allow public comment on any topic during our business meetings. However, we still have the same stipulations in that we will limit each spokesperson to 3 minutes. We will only allow 45 minutes total, okay? And so I have people helping me keep track of that. Some other notes, if a team is here kind of on the similar topic, you can defer to a spokesperson that represents your views, and then when your name is called, you can just say, I agreed with Bobby or whoever that might be, okay? So you can defer your comments if you're in alignment with someone else who has already spoken, and then pass if your intended point has already been made. We have heard several people read books. We understand that there's profanity. We've heard several things over the last few meetings. Don't feel like you need to read out of a book for us. Providing a book name so that we can consider that is perfectly okay. And we'll make sure to note that down and keep that in mind as we work through what we want to do on the book topic as a board moving forward. Let's see. I'll also note board members do receive information from the public in lots of ways. So this meeting is one of them, email is another, phone number is another. So there's lots of ways to reach all of us. If for some reason you don't feel comfortable or you weren't caught on tonight, you can certainly reach out to us in another way. Let me see if there's any other notes I'm missing. Nope, I think that's it. To start, I will share something that Mr. Schultz provided to me just before we sat down. It is a petition that I will read just for clarity amongst the audience. Ms. Wielden, on August 7th, 2023, the BCSC board adopted policy changes for policy 0167.3, specifically subsection G, that permitted written public comment be submitted in lieu of public speaking. By signing the below, people affirm to have a relationship to the school corporation as either student, parent, resident, taxpayer, or any combination that fulfills the requirements of subsection C. I enter the first 500 signatures received last week as a public record for this meeting at the request of the undersigned. Per their request, the quoted text is in their written public comment for each individual at this August 21st, 2023 BCSC school board meeting. I ask that the BCSC school board implement standards on profanity and vulgarity that is appropriate for each school's audiences, elementary, middle school, and high school. These standards should not discriminate against any group of people, however, will hold the bar of decorum for what our children read and its appropriateness within common society. There are a list of names here, and then this will be provided to the other school board members via email after this meeting, okay? So if this is a topic and you feel like this covers your input for tonight, then you may refrain. Okay, that being said, Nikki, you ready? Okay, all right, I'm gonna start at the top and we'll work our way down.
I did check, Mrs. Woolen, there were no agenda items on there, so you can move past and go straight to the top.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Mr. John Edwards. Hello, sir. Okay, and Mr. Edwards, and for anyone speaking tonight, there is a timer here at 3 minutes. I cut you off. I'm a stickler. Okay, so hopefully I'll hear it and I'll give you a little motion. All right, thank you.
Good evening, BCS board members. My name is John Edwards, and I serve this community in 3 different areas. I'm an elected community leader for a nonprofit organization. I'm a pastor, and I'm a parent. First, I would like to say during COVID, I realized I did not have the necessary experience to be an at-home teacher. There were significant changes to how I learned specific subjects compared to my child's learning. However, as a parent, it was my duty to be involved in the process of knowing what material she was learning, and I did so by communicating respectfully with the teachers and the administrative staff. In other words, I actively participated in my child's learning with the trust of a licensed and qualified teacher providing me essential guidance. I bring this to the board's attention because it takes patience and understanding to teach the children of this era, especially while navigating through their political and religious beliefs that they bring to school from home. But I want to say I thank the teachers and the staff of this district for dealing with everything they have to deal with and still caring about the welfare of our children. As a community leader, pastor, and a parent, my main concern was last week's meeting. I listened to what was supposed to be a group of people who stated that they were concerned about the children in this district and the material they read. But after listening to the adults repeatedly use explicit language that was still with children in the room, there's no way, I couldn't understand how come they couldn't dial it down. They could have used abbreviations to get the same point across, but no, they still felt it necessary to read this material out loud. To me, I honestly felt many of them enjoyed reading the F word, the S word, and some of them even enjoyed using the N word. To you elected officials on this board, I don't mean no disrespect, but we, the community, expect you to represent everyone in your district, not a particular interest group. The community expects all of you to represent all of us parents and all of the children. So every person, every child has an opportunity to learn. We, the community, do not expect you to only benefit and serve the ones that benefit your personal beliefs and your agendas. If you're not willing to do this or believe you're unable to, please step down. The BCS model that we read up on the board says, together we learn. So I ask each of you, how do you define the we? As a pastor, it's my job to love everyone as Christ loved the church. As an elected community leader, I'm to stand up for those who cannot stand up for themselves. But as a parent, I'm to guide my child so that when they get old, they will respect everyone, no matter their lifestyle, their religious preferences, no matter their skin color. The bottom line is this: none of us is God. However, we must answer to him in the end as how we treat one another.
Thank you, Mr. Edwards. Cindy Frey.
Good evening. Cindy Frey, 1611 Parkside Drive. It has been my privilege to collaborate with Dr. Roberts, cabinet members, and building administrators, both as a parent volunteer and a professional in economic and community development. The prosperity of our local economy is intricately tied to the triumphs of this exceptional school system. Year after year, the district consistently nurtures well-rounded, educated individuals who transition seamlessly into the next phases of their lives beyond high school. Our community is fortunate to be guided by educational leaders who embody true excellence, and we just met one of them tonight, Mrs. Fountain. What a star. I extend my heartfelt gratitude for their unwavering integrity, profound intelligence, trailblazing innovation, and genuine compassion for each and every student. BCSC stands as a shining example and is a source of admiration not only in the state of Indiana but across the nation. I want to share one example of innovation that I'm personally involved with. The Columbus Area Chamber of Commerce proudly sponsors the Work Ethics Certificate Program in BCSC's middle schools. Now, back in 2017, the Governor's Work Ethics Certificate was created, but BCSC, in its wisdom, decided it would have a similar program at the K to 6th grade level, sponsored by the Mayor's Office, and the middle school, sponsored by the Chamber of Commerce. What we impress upon the students we work with is that employers, like the 628 chamber members I work with, value not only what a student knows, but how they behave. And while these skills might not be traditional subjects like reading, writing, or math, they are crucial life skills that we try to cultivate and recognize. Things like collaboration, effective communication, problem solving, demonstrating critical thinking, being dependable, accountable, and a team player, being organized, punctual. This work isn't about academics per se, but these are really essential skills. And one effective way for students to embrace these fundamental skills for life and work is by empathizing and putting themselves in another person's shoes. When we read a variety of books, we step into the experiences of someone with a different background, whether it's related to race, religion, sexual orientation, gender identity. We're cultivating understanding and empathy. This approach should not instill fear, rather it encourages growth. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Beth Stroh.
My name is Beth Stroh, and I live at 628 Lafayette Avenue. I am the current owner of Viewpoint Books, a small business in our community that will celebrate its 50th birthday in October. When the Edwards Whitaker family opened the store in 1973, they were intentional about choosing a name that would be welcoming to all. Thus, Viewpoint Books has always been a place where we strive to include all points of view, nonfiction from a broad spectrum of perspectives, and fiction for all ages that serves as both mirrors and windows. Books are mirrors when readers see their own lives reflected in the pages. Seeing ourselves, people who look like us, a character that has a similar name, someone who shares a similar background, families that look like ours, is uplifting. It helps us feel connected and creates a sense of belonging. Because each of us is different in some ways, albeit alike in many more, for each of us to see ourselves in the mirror of a book requires that the literature available to our students must include the beautiful diversity that defines our community. Books are windows when they allow readers to see lives and stories that are different from their own. We may not be able to relate to their life experiences, but we learn and grow from reading their stories. We can learn how others overcome adversity, and we can see how families change and grow stronger through challenging experiences. We can recognize that people that live in different kinds of houses and eat foods we've never seen are still like us in many ways. Books open windows to the world in the safest possible way. We gain understanding and compassion without ever leaving home. I'm sure it's happened many times during the long history of Viewpoint Books, and I can assure you that nearly every day since I bought the store in 2016, parents and grandparents have asked me to suggest books for children and young readers. It's a delightful experience to recommend books for happy occasions. It's more challenging when they share that their middle school child is feeling particularly vulnerable, or they want, rather need, a book that includes a character whose parents are divorcing or who is grieving a beloved grandparent or pet. I've recommended books about blended families, about new neighbors who look different, and about loved ones facing challenging mental and physical illness. Sometimes it's the children themselves who ask, "Do you have a book with a character that looks like me?" Or, "My friend feels sad and I want to help." The answer is a resounding yes, and they need to see those books in our libraries. They can't all afford to buy them from us.
Thank you. Mary Mills.
I want to say that this school system has wonderful, dedicated teachers that spend hours after school on their own time doing lesson plans, grading papers, and still they do go the extra mile to help a child that may be struggling. So I think that we need to all appreciate and recognize the teachers in this community. I was truly shocked at what was read at the last meeting. And it dawned on me that what do they think our teens are talking about? You know, when they're on their own and we're not there, what words do they think they're using on the bus? Really? That is reality in today's age. Even in the 1960s, when I was in junior high and high school, we were talking about sex because we didn't know, and we shared what we did know. So our city is a diverse city of people from all over the world, of different races, ethnicities, religion, and sexual orientation. The message I got from these people was that they were anti-LGBT, and I felt that was wrong. Our children need to understand, accept, and know the diversity around them to cope with the bigger world that we are going to live in, that they are going to go out and live in. And I wonder, what are these people afraid of? Are they afraid that the children won't learn to hate who they hate?
Thank you. I hope I say this right. Barbara Hant? Hant.
Ben Franklin, arguably one of the most brilliant American forefathers, was born into a family of 17 children. His parents could only afford to give him 2 years of formal schooling. As a teenager, he effectively became an orphan after escaping from a life of indentured servitude to his older brother. He earned the nickname the Water American because in a time when most people drank ale or beer with their meals, he saved money by drinking water with his and used that money to buy books to educate himself. As an adult, Franklin realized that he and his friends could pool their books and share them out, thereby benefiting all with the same accessibility to books. Thus was born the first lending library. Franklin is also credited with many other societal improvements, such as establishing the fire department and becoming the Postmaster General. We can scarcely imagine what our communities would be like without some of these institutions. Certainly, he was one of the first people to recognize that all citizens can benefit by sharing things that are too expensive for one family or one group to provide for themselves. He believed in accessibility of literature and free services for the public, which have come to define our democratic societies and distinguish them from monarchies, communist and socialist governments, and totalitarian regimes. Today, we have federal, state, municipal, and school libraries where our librarians, who have labored to acquire degrees and certifications, curate books that represent their communities. And what is that community? At Columbus North, we have families who speak over 30 different languages at home. They're very widely in their values, from extremely liberal to very conservative. They represent dozens of different ethnicities and religions. They come from all ranges of social and financial backgrounds. Our librarians welcome them in and serve them with free resources which most could not afford to purchase on their own. However, these children and their families are just a microcosm of our larger community. I think Franklin, with his love of books on all subjects, would be incredulous to know the kind of attacks that librarians are undergoing in this and other communities around the country. I think he would believe that attacks on libraries and librarians are attacks on the democratic framework of our society, which he labored to construct. To people who would like to limit what resources are available and included in libraries, I say look to your own child. You have the right to limit what your child reads. If you have a problem with a book at school, reach out to the teacher and discuss some alternatives. Accompany your kids to the county library or your neighborhood bookstore and pick out some books you can read together. If you have a larger issue, reach out to the school corporation, which has an established policy for objections to material, and follow the steps of that process. However, do not expect others to sit idly by while you try to silence their ability to do the same with their own children. Other families feel perfectly capable of deciding for themselves what is appropriate for their children and do not welcome your curtailment of their rights or the material which is included in their libraries and paid for from their taxes. Let the librarians do their job of deciding what books to include in the library, and parents do their job of monitoring their individual children. Thank you.
Thank you. David Spencer.
Hello, members of the board. My name is David Spencer. I'm an English teacher at Columbus North High School. I am also the 2022 Teacher of the Year at Columbus North High School. My daughter goes thank you. My daughter goes to Parkside, and my wife is a librarian here in BCSC. I'm very honored to speak with so many other community members that are supporting teachers and librarians and not trying to undermine them. The truth is that many teachers that I work with and librarians feel under attack, and there's no amount of jargon or word salad or mental gymnastics that will change the fact that we feel like our jobs are being undermined, that our ability to choose books and select books for the students that we work with every day is being compromised. One of the books I teach in 11th grade English is The Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger. He was a World War II veteran who stormed the beaches of Normandy, and he survived with the pages of this novel, The Catcher in the Rye, in his backpack. When he returned from Europe and came back to America, he published this novel about a young 16-year-old who is struggling to feel a place in the world, a place of comfort, a place of safety. I'm not going to read a passage out loud from that book, but about 200 pages into the book, which a reasonable young person would have to commit discipline to after 200 pages, this main character, Holden Caulfield, finds the F word scrawled on the mirror of a bathroom after he's already felt parental neglect and suicidal ideation, and he's already experienced many traumas surrounding him. Seeing the F word scrawled on the mirror of the bathroom that he's in, just trying to splash cold water on his face, is another moment of alienation. The book doesn't have a neat, tidy ending. The novel, which I teach to students many, many times over now, doesn't resolve itself with a nice, bow at the end of the story, but it provides an antidote to loneliness. I provide that the literature I teach and the literature in our libraries currently and the policies and standards we use to select those books establish that the purpose of literature is to provide an antidote to loneliness, to provide a gateway to empathy, and to provide a counter to despair. I have a master's degree in literature, and my wife does as well, and many college-educated and licensed and degreed individuals in our school work very hard to provide and serve our community with the literature that we think our students should have access to. That includes the libraries, and I appreciate all members of the admin at my school and on the board here who have tried to support us and try to make us feel like we are welcome and that our jobs are not being undermined. But we would like to continue to urge all members of the board and members of our community to keep in mind that we work very hard at our jobs that is often thankless and demoralizing, and we would really like to find grace and a sense of dignity for the decisions we make at our school, and we would like to be trusted as college-educated individuals and licensed teachers and librarians. Thank you.
Lori Thompson.
Good evening, and thank you for giving me this opportunity. I want to first congratulate the school corporation for getting off to a great year with our students, with most of the positions filled and no major issues with the busing, so fantastic. It is my understanding, though, that there are some teachers that are not feeling the love, as Mr. Spencer just noted. And so I thought it might be helpful to remind ourselves of some of the accomplishments that have occurred in the last school year. And then you can think for yourself, does this happen by itself, or does it need some caring individuals that support making those things happen? So, starting with some of the STEM accomplishments. CSA Lincoln Elementary School State Math Bowl Top 10. CSA Fadria Elementary School Construction Design Champions. Smith Elementary School VEX Robotics World Championship. Southside Elementary School State Math Bowl and 3rd place. Parkside Elementary School VEX Robotics State Champ Competitors. Central Middle School Science 7th grade Team State Champions. Northside Middle School Junior Solar Sprint Champions. And CSA New Tech School Boiler Tech Challenge winner. That doesn't happen without the care and love and responsibility of some of our teachers. So I wanted to go on. Dr. Roberts won the Indiana Ed Tech Trailblazer Award and 2023 Consortium of School Network. And then also a national recognition as the Empower Ed Digital Superintendent of the Year. We had transition to our teachers to program to help current staff members go back to school and get education degrees and license. And then we had a junior, Ms. Moon Journey, win the 2023 Poetry Out Loud National Champion. Going on a little bit further, the Legato Spanish Immersion Program celebrated 5 years, which is just fantastic. And then BCSC began implementing the professional development for all of our teachers and staff 4 times a year. I'd venture to say that that is an outstanding record for the people in our community, and we ought to appreciate our teachers and the administration that make it happen. Thank you.
Amy Menifee.
Hi, I'm Amy Menifee. I am speaking today to encourage board members to create a subcommittee to address the concern of multiple books found in our school libraries that contain adult material that should not be available to minors. I would like to commend the board on the development of recent subcommittees that have allowed for more transparency and communication with the public. I believe the concern over book content warrants the necessity to develop a policy that creates clear guidelines to assure that adult material is not available to minor children in our school libraries. As a parent, I would have never thought that our school libraries would be yet another place that we would need to make sure that our children are not being exposed to adult content. I want to make it clear that I believe this is a process and policy problem, and not a problem with individual teachers providing these books intentionally to children. I believe most teachers would be just as upset as parents to find some of these books available to children. There needs to be some process to review how these books landed in our school libraries. The current policy is not adequate to address this problem. Currently, a parent would need to discover a book, then make a complaint and file a form for review of the book. At that point, a minor could have already been exposed to adult content that they are not mature enough to process. It is the responsibility of the school corporation and the board to assure that minors are not exposed to sexually explicit material. It is also unfair to put this responsibility on parents when it is impossible for parents to know what all is available in the school libraries. There is also no process in place for schools to notify the parents of what books are being checked out of the libraries. Even if a book has an overall positive message, it does not negate the fact that the book needs to be age appropriate for the reader. If we allow books that are not age appropriate to remain in the libraries, we are also creating a double standard when it comes to disciplining students. If any student is caught searching on their Chromebook some of the words and content available in these books, they would be disciplined. If they are caught speaking some of these same words, they would also be disciplined. It is simply not acceptable to have higher standards for the students than we hold for the adults who are responsible for supplying their reading material. A public subcommittee would be a good start to address this problem. Any community member can give their opinion and voice their concerns. It is also an opportunity to realize that most community members have more in common than we have differences when it comes to the goal of protecting children. I ask the board to begin the process of addressing this concern so parents can be assured that the policies of BCSC are working with them in the education of their children. Thank you.
Thank you. Dakota Hall.
Hello, I'm Dakota. I'm a librarian at the public library. Many of you probably recognize me from the library board meetings where the same topic was discussed ad nauseum last year. I'm hoping to save all of you and the school librarians some time and money because we did this work already. I have the report from our year-long study about these topics. So part of this includes a survey from the community, and one of the very interesting points in the survey is that about 90% of the community trusts the librarians and teachers. There's just a loud 10% that likes to get their information from Facebook lists of books with salacious texts taken from them out of context. And but 90% of the community that we surveyed trusts us to be doing our jobs correctly. So I hope that you can take that into account because as has been mentioned, we do all have master's degrees in this and we know what we're doing. So thank you. I'm going to give you all this.
Got homework tonight. Thank you, Dakota. Barbara Day.
My name is Barbara Day, and I'm a community member here too. I have the distinct honor of telling you that Miss Hazel Fadria was my first grade teacher. She's a beautiful lady, and she pointed out things on the wall with a ball bat. So we got our numbers and our letters right. First of all, I'd like to thank you for listening, and I'm really impressed with how things may be opening up and finding the parallel between the parents and the teachers, because it's there. We just have to dig for it. Last week, I heard the ladies ask anybody that was a minor to be removed from the room. So I saw not last week, 2 weeks ago, I saw no children here hearing those horrible things that were read that made everyone's skin crawl, and yet those books are in our schools. We know they're there, and that's what the parents are asking for. These aren't just community members. 90% of them are parents. I'm a grandma and a great-grandma, and I just want you to all know that everyone no one hates anyone. I didn't hear any LGBTQ bashing. I heard people saying, our kids don't need to read porn. And I'd like for you to all think about that and find that parallel. It's there. Thank you.
Decker Kavosi?
Hello, my name is Decker. I am also a public librarian. I am here to speak in support of our wonderful BCSC librarians and teachers. I have worked extensively with many of them, and the effort that they do to create communities out of their libraries, communities based on information and books and mutual concern, is wonderful, and that's the exact type of community that we want our young people to have. I will also say that I think that the books that are under fire here, the ones that do deal with the tough topics, the ones that have cuss words, oh my gosh, the ones that have that deal with themes of racism or sexuality or questioning sexuality or violence or even sexual violence, those are often the books that the kids need the most to feel safe, to feel identified. And it is my opinion that no library board, no, school corporation board, no administration should have the power to create barriers to those potentially life-saving books, the books that the kids often do need the most. And these are books that are written with this audience in mind. There is no adult content going into these libraries. These are books written by authors specifically for middle schoolers, for high schoolers, for middle graders, for children, to try to get them through tough times. It is not the role of librarians to force every kid to read these books, but it is their responsibility, I think, to make them available for the kids that do need them, and that is what our librarians are doing an excellent job doing. Thank you.
Mark Niemöller.
I was going to comment on the ALA and the book situation, but since it's already been done and since you announced that a book policy, an actual official book policy is in the works, I'd like to instead speak against teachers forming close personal relationships with students. Some new information has come to light. The last time I spoke against teachers forming closer personal relationships with students, I vastly underestimated the amount of pedophiles in public school staffs. The estimation was based on recent years' newspaper reports of staff members arrested for sexually abusing students in the United States, which was about 365 per year. But an article in Education Week from way back in 2004 has just come to light. It looked at a different metric, student reports. Granted, student reports consist of a lower quality data, but let me quote an excerpt from the article. Extrapolating from data collected in a national survey for the American Association of University Women Educational Foundation in 2000, roughly 290,000 students experienced some sort of physical sexual abuse by a public school employee from 1991 to 2000. I think it's safe to say that the 29,000 per year reports expose the 365 per year arrests as representing only the tip of the iceberg. And I think it's safe to say that a 100 times greater estimation of pedophiles in the public school system further confirms that closer personal relationships between teachers and students is a very bad idea. Thank you.
Cheryl Noblet.
At the last meeting, I read from the book Push, which deals with a child who's been molested and sexualized by her parents and other family members from infancy into adulthood. The book contains many racial slurs and slangs, as well as very graphic details of the repeated molestation involving intercourse and oral sex with an infant, along with acts of violence against children and women. At this meeting, I'm not going to read any more of that vulgar filth. Intelligent and responsible adults instinctively know that books that deal with adult sexual matters do not belong in the hands or minds of minor children. Instead, I'm going to ask that the school board stop condoning the placement of these types of books and materials by BCSC librarians, as suggested by the ALA. The books and materials that are being suggested by the organization known as the American Library Association are being used as tools to sexualize children across our nation. The ALA has suggested for librarians to accept and secretly place these vulgar, obscene books in school libraries with one goal in mind, and that is the goal of furthering their own woke agenda of creating generations of sexualized, sexually confused, indoctrinated, and weak children. I can't even begin to understand why an organization such as the ALA would want to contribute to the delinquency of minors, and why BCSC would want to follow the ALA lead in contributing to that delinquency of this community's children. Thank you.
Chuck Daup.
I was gratified to hear that there is somebody else in this room that knows who Hazel Farger is. I am a friend and acquaintance with several of you on the board. And all of you form the leadership of our school system. I am a follower of Jesus Christ, and I hope that these words honor him. I was dismayed by the words spoken in the last meeting. The school board meeting, that the same building, in this building, our teachers read to us books designed to teach morality and values, and I can assure you, not a one of them contained the words that I heard from the last meeting. I was even more distressed to read the email sent by Dr. Roberts to the staff representing Dr. Roberts' opinion of those remarks. I remind each of you that your positions, whatever they may be, for the purpose of educating our children who attend the schools in Bartholomew County. It neither serves you nor the community well to minimize the concerns of the parents at that meeting. The following suggestions are given by this concerned grandparent and a citizen of Bartholomew County. Change the process by which you would address the performance of teachers. Delete such criteria as schools attended length of service, and any other non-essential criteria intended to confuse the process. Results are all that matters. Graduation rates and test scores are measurable and understandable. Mental health and social engineering should be left to other experts. You are educators. Let's get back to those basics. Your first and only goal should be to make schools in Bartholomew County #1 in the state of Indiana, a position that was held by this school system when I graduated in 1958. Thank you very much.
Amy Artis.
My name is Amy Artis. I live at 3325 Brent Cross here in town. I would like to start off by saying that I'm a product of this school system and was greatly benefited by our public library, especially the bookmobile. And I am very, very thankful for both. I am also thankful for you and for your service. And I trust in my heart each one of you is doing the best of your ability to fulfill the mission, vision, and core beliefs of this corporation. But I also ask that you remember that there are and will always be people with personal agendas, beliefs, values, and morals that would like to see those agendas, beliefs, morals, and values become public policy, even if it is not what is best for the public. So I ask you, I beg you, that as you continue to struggle with how to fulfill the mission, vision, and core beliefs of the Bartholomew County School Corporation in this community that I think we all agree is diverse in so many ways, that you will put aside your personal agendas, your personal beliefs, your personal values, your personal morals for just a moment and consider what is truly good for our community as a whole, realizing that there is no way that you will be able to please everyone. And as you do this, I want you to know you are in my thoughts and prayers, whether I agree with you or not. God bless.
Thank you, Ms. Artist. Oh my. I'm going to go with the first name, okay? I think it's Jabin H. Jabin? I'm so sorry, sir. You might want to say your name because I'm sure I got that way wrong.
My name is Jahan Hubi Haydar.
Jahan.
My dad
I feel
always,
about this big right now.
My dad always told me I mispronounced it too, so we're good. We're good here.
Thank you.
Mostly I just want to say thank you to a lot of different people. As we've been listening to some of the other people speak about their backgrounds, their educations, and things like that, I realize and how much they put into their jobs, teachers, librarians. It's very humbling, and I just feel so much gratitude that I wanted to share with them and with the community and with the board. And it's not just what they do today, it's what they did to get here. I mean, how many of us have master's degrees? That's a big deal. Yeah, I mean, some people do, but that's a big deal, and that's a lot of work and a lot of effort, and I just feel so much gratitude for what all these people, our teachers, our librarians, our staff, everybody did to get to where they are today, and for all the time and energy they put into our communities, so thank you. And Dr. Roberts, I'll single you out. I was not aware of the accolades and awards you've gotten that Lori mentioned. I'm not surprised. I just want to say thank you also for the leadership. It's only been a few years, but I'm just so grateful that you've been here too. Thank you.
So we are at 45 minutes, which means the stickler in me has to stop, okay? So I am going to recognize, however, that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 more people who had signed up, and I appreciate that you came here to speak to us. I agree. I think we all deserve a round of applause for investing some time into this school system. I apologize for not being able to continue tonight, but I do thank you, and please know that we are available and we'd love to hear from you, and all of us stay after a bit after the meeting if you'd like to speak with any one of us, okay? All right. We are going to move on to request for approval, old business. The only thing we have up here on old business is minutes from our school board meeting from August 7th, 2023. Do I have a motion from my board?
I'll motion to approve the minutes from August 7th, 2023.
Thank you, Mr. Major. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you. All those in favor of approving the board minutes from August 7th, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. Dr. Roberts.
Thank you, Mrs. Wilden. As we have set up our agenda a little bit different, my next line or request for approval is under new business. So items new before you include field trips and professional leaves, our supplemental contracts, school fundraisers, a list of claims and payroll. We have the claims dated today, August the 21st, of a little over $1 million. We had a pre-run for the month of July that was about $4.2 million. And we have our payroll for August the 21st, for $2,780,107.35. And just a reminder that that payroll would cover the regular payroll dates of July 14th and July 28th. In those payrolls, there were no bus contracts for 9-month employee wages, so a little bit less than would be typical. Additionally, Mrs. Schaff had a large list of budget items for you as she goes through these title grants for the first time. These are all federal grants. We have Title I, Parts A and D, Title II, Part A, Title III, Part A, and Title IV, Part A. And additionally, we have from Dr. Bozeman permission to process a change order to roofing contract. I would guess that you'll want to do that since it's reducing the cost of the roofing contract. That's not typical. So would ask for those items to be approved.
Thank you, Dr. Roberts.
You're welcome.
Do I have a motion from the board?
I move that we approve number 5, letters B through K, as presented by Dr. Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Grimes. Do you have a second?
Somebody? Yes, I'll second the motion. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you. After that dramatic pause, all those in favor? Yes. Oh, yes. A question. I forget that point.
That's why I was like a little hesitant on the second.
Okay. No problem.
Is Ms. Schaff or Dr. Roberts, whoever. So the questions are all around the Title I funds. Sure. I noticed that we called out parental involvement as part of the Part A funding proposal. Can I get any details or general awareness of what those funds may, or what those activities may be? And then I had 3 follow-up questions as well.
Sure. As a part of the title funding that are federal funds, including parental involvement as well as parental feedback of our title programming in each of our 4 title schools is a part of the requirement of that grant. So it looks a little different. We have meetings at the beginning of the year. We have a parent advisory group around our title services specifically for the students and staff in those buildings.
Okay, and then the other follow-up on the same Title A funding is, I believe it was in May at the North High School is when we asked this question, but I noticed a call out for contracted counseling services. I thought this was told as a pass-through entity in which they bill insurance providers and/or Medicaid to offset their costs, but are some of their costs also offset from our Title I funds as well?
While I'm new to this and learning all of the pieces, yes, I believe there are some offsets with our local family services as well as Centerstone services in those title schools. Am I correct in that?
Yeah.
Doctor
Yes.
Phillips? Yeah.
And then on the other part is in Part A and Part D, I noticed the call out for a lot of funds being directed to non-BCSC schools.
Yes.
Is that I'm assuming that's just part of the,
That's the equitable share that is part of the grant funding federal requirements.
Okay, and then the final question I had was around the administrative costs. For Part A, it looks like it's roughly 20% of the entire, about 17%, I believe, of the total Part A. That seems a little high compared to BCSC in general. I believe, and I talked with Dr. Phillips, was about $2.5 million across the non-BCSC admin costs for our education fund. So does it just require a lot more admin time, or it just seems like a little bit more percent weight of admin cost than the general education fund budget? So that may be Dr. Phillips, I apologize.
Part of the reason is that we pay 100% of the administrative costs for full-time administrator as well as administrative assistants, all out of that grant, so they don't come out of any of the education fund, operations fund, and so as a proportion, it's much larger.
Okay, so it's really just proportion from that perspective.
Because they spend 100% of the time supporting those grant funds.
Okay, I appreciate it, that's all.
Thank you. Questions? Okay, so any other questions or comments? No? Okay. Okay, so I have a motion and a second to approve item 5, letters B through K. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. Dr. Pleak, our last item.
I request approval of HR recommendations as presented this evening, and this evening there are 3 recommendations.
Thank you. Do I have a motion?
I move that we approve the HR recommendations as presented by Dr. Pleak.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor of approving our HR recommendations say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries.
I'm hesitant to say this out loud, but I only have 0. Hesitant to say it, so
You're winning.
I'm sharing it very.
Congratulations. Nicely done. Okay, we have board input and review. I'm starting at this side of the table, Mr. Bryant.
I don't have anything, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Major?
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you to all of the unsung heroes of the corporation, but I wanted to target the custodial, the cafeteria staff, and the bus department, both the staff and the drivers, the maintenance teams and the ground crews that keep our sites looking great and running great. I don't think that often enough they get the thank yous. Obviously, we thank everyone else as well for all their efforts, but I just wanted to highlight them to just say, hey, great start. You know, with the kid at East, I only heard of a couple of complaints. One day the building was kind of hot, air conditioner wasn't working great, but I've heard nothing but good things outside of that. So thank you everybody that's worked on all those areas.
Mr. Stenner?
Sure, thank you. During this last week, thanks to Mr. Nallon who did the scheduling, I was able to tour Parkside and East High School. Big thank you to Mr. Smith and his staff at Parkside, to Dr. Parsons and his staff at East. As Mr. Major said, school year seems to be off to a good start everywhere. I don't have a high schooler in the house anymore, but I've heard a lot about lanyards so far this year. And I wanted to give a shout out to an anonymous staff member at North who's seeing a young person in the hall without a lanyard, asked questions. Young person said, well, I lost it. Rather than saying, you know, go to the office now and get a replacement, the staff member said, let's go together to the office and get a replacement. And that's when it turned out that the person without a lanyard did not belong in the building. So a big shout out to the staff members that are enforcing some unpopular ideas and rules and concepts this year so far. I wanted to thank all the speakers that came out tonight. We appreciate your input. And in particular, we thank the teachers, the TAs, and the staff members, bus drivers, and others that have gotten us off to a good start this year.
We have this saying at work, my quality leader says it all the time, and he says, thanks for nothing. Because in quality, when nothing happens, that means that you've done your job. And so it's met in a positive way. And hearing Mr. Major, Mr. Stenner here, things like buses, as Ms. Thompson pointed out, and our cafeteria, and all of the people that are keeping buildings clean, they often don't get the thanks for nothing, but everything's going smoothly because that team does such a remarkable job. So I'll just say it for a third time. I appreciate the people who are keeping our kids happy and healthy and safe.
First off, thank you to all the members of the community that took time, particularly the last 2 or 3 days, to send emails, and thanks to all of you who took the time to be here this evening and provide your input. It is much appreciated. Secondly, congrats again to Ms. Buckler for being Indiana Teacher of the Year Final 10. And Mrs. Fountain, once again, for being selected this year's BCSC winner. Thank you to Mr. Edwards, our secondary director for the AP data that was shared recently in regards to the new numbers results at North and East. Thank you to Mr. Burnett for the Communication Connections newsletter, which first appeared August 14th, for its tips for teachers, administrators, BCSC staff on how to better communicate with families using Canva, Parent Square, social media posts, all kinds of tips and tricks, encouraging the use of regular newsletters, so on, etc. So thank you to Mr. Burnett for that. And then lastly, best wishes to all of, to the cross-country, tennis, soccer, and football teams at Columbus East and Columbus North this week as they compete against one another during rivalry week.
So I just lost all 4 of my things right now.
It's okay. It's not a competition, Mr.
No, you're okay. So I reiterate everything. I do want to thank everyone that's came out, that spoke, that's sent emails. Regardless of the viewpoint that you or others may share, just know that we do strive to represent all. And we do take, I know I've received personally, I think 24 just in the last 24 hours, and I appreciate every one of those emails because I learned something new. And I had a whole spiel, but as Ms. Wheeldon's already said, we're going to talk about it September 11th, so no sense in spieling on that. But I do want to say is we share a lot more in common than we think. I know as I entered into this understanding, like you open your eyes and you look at books, and I was not an avid reader. My wife is an avid reader, used to work for the Bartholomew County Library. And again, as you take that, you look at it and you understand, parents are seeking for options and teachers are seeking to teach. And there's a lot in common, about 80 to 90%. And so I think once we get into a room and talk, everyone will walk away just like we did in the public subcommittee engagement, where the solutions were voted unanimously. And at the end of the day, that's what delivered this process that allowed everyone to speak. And although we had more demand than supply here, I think it was great that we were able to hear the community. And I appreciate not hearing the words and having to take a little bit of a mental break And like the pastor said at the beginning, I mean, one of the books that I learned about was a lot about racism and police brutality and understanding those topics and looking at alternative books for our 4th graders to 6th graders. And I just appreciate everyone's time. And so I just want to say thank you. Thank you for showing Columbus strong and being a strong community united together.
Mrs. Wilden, if I could have just a second.
Can I get one more thing real quick?
No backsies.
Real quick.
Sure.
I want to thank Lori Thompson for giving us at least 10 things over the course of the last year that have been identified. STEM, math bowl, can instruction, VEX robotics. I only wrote down 10. I couldn't keep up, but I do want to thank you for outdoing Mr. Grimes tonight. So thank you.
Good. Yep, Dr. Arts?
Yeah, I just did not do this during the public comments section, but do want to give to you, Mrs. Wilden, and each of the board members had a chance to see this, but there were 14 names on it, so just want to recognize that. Our librarians and library assistants have a statement or a letter to you just expressing the angst and frustration they have felt, and again, I know that each of you have had a chance to see that, so I want to recognize that. And before closing, Chuck, I appreciate your calling out my letter, and I say that sincerely because my response the very next night was based upon heart, not head, and where my heart was. Right. And I have a team to take care of. I have a staff that was not feeling very good about some things, and I needed to take care of them and step up for that. And so with that being said, I also cannot tolerate the continued statement about pedophiles. It is one thing to have comments in here. I do appreciate people stepping up and saying whatever's in your heart, because we have to hear that, we have to work through that, and none of us are perfect. But to continue to hammer on that topic is just inappropriate. So I kicked myself last week for not saying that. That was a part of my response on Tuesday night to our staff, and I needed to say it tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Roberts. Okay. Next meeting is on September 11th, 2023. We will have a public work session here in this building at 5 o'clock, and then it will be followed by a school board meeting at 6:30 p.m. here in the administration building. Okay, with that, meeting is ended.
Thank
you all.